So we've heard what GCHQ have been saying, the head of GCHQ. Putin obviously coming up with a very different story. Where's the government this morning?
So the Prime Minister continues to be very clear that Putin must fail in his outrageous and illegal war in invading Ukraine, and the UK government will continue to work hand in glove with both our US and our EU allies to support Ukraine to defend their territorial country borders and to make sure that Putin turns his tanks around and takes them home.
Putin still has some friends amongst the international community, not least India. You were there, I think, in January, am I right in saying? And we're looking to do a trade deal with them later on. But they refused to condemn what was happening in Ukraine. They don't seem to, as a result, be respecting international borders. Do we really want to do a trade deal with a country like that?
So the Foreign Secretary has gone out to India this week to have conversations with her Indian counterpart and to discuss what is a difficult situation, I think, for all of us who are democratic nations, and India, of course, is the largest democracy in the world, that standing up for democratic nations and peaceful borders, which Ukraine's have been breached, is something that we want to see everyone doing. And I know that Liz Truss will be continuing to have those discussions with the ministers in India to do that. Our trade talks are at a relatively early level at the moment, and officials met 10 days ago for some discussions, which are progressing. But we will continue those for the time being, as we have several trade deals on the go, and see how we progress. But it's really important that we see India. We understand why they've chosen to sit on the fence at the moment. They have connections in both directions. But for us, it's really important to see all countries who believe in democracy and the rule of law, and indeed defending your own territorial borders and wanting to have that sovereignty, respected by those around you, to stand up for that.
Yeah, but does it really sit comfortably with you doing business with a country that, by omission, is sanctioning the death of innocents?
So no, it doesn't. And I think we have to be clear that we continue to stand up, as I say, for democratic countries where the right to live peacefully in your sovereign nation is something that should be respected by all. And I know that Liz Truss will be continuing to do what it is the Foreign Office's job to do, to present those arguments and trying to persuade her colleagues in India of the merits of giving their opinion on Putin's outrageous illegal war.
When are we going to allow more Ukrainians to come into our sovereign nation and get rid of the logjam that seems to be holding up so many of them who need our help most at this very vulnerable time?
Absolutely, and the two schemes that are out and running are moving at pace. I think the latest figures are that 25,000 visas have now been granted, and I know that Lord Harrington, who has been brought in to oversee this, is working literally all hours that God sends to try and make the process as slick as possible. We have obviously surged more both Home Office and military support into Poland and other locations to help do the processing at pace. One of the things we have released is that if you have a passport, a Ukrainian passport, you can do the biometric checks once you get to the UK, which is a great news and a real help. But of course, many Ukrainians didn't have a passport, they only had identity cards. So in which case they do need to be going to these visa centres in order to get a passport to do that. So we are continuing to surge and to work, and I think it's about 1,000 a day now being processed, which is great news.
How many have come to the UK?
So I understand that 25,000 visas have now been issued. I don't have those figures, I'm afraid, Kay.
But it's significantly less than that. Significantly fewer, I should say.
So we will continue to see, I think, in the weeks and months ahead coming.
Talk to me about the golden visas. I was reading in my morning newspapers that obviously the golden visa scheme was under Labour, but it was ramped up significantly under David Cameron's government. Basically, if a Russian oligarch had £2 million to invest in the UK, just for the benefit of our viewers, I'm sure you know, they were fast-tracked to come into the UK. 8 of them now have, in the Prime Minister's words, Ukrainian blood on their hands, and they've been sanctioned. What does that say about the British government's judgment?
So the sanctions scheme that we have brought in, as I say, alongside our US and EU colleagues, has been absolutely rigorous. We have made sure that, and the Foreign Secretary has worked incredibly hard to make sure that all the sanctions we bring are ones that will hold absolutely firm in the court of law, and I think we have the highest number of individuals now sanctioned. And I think what's so important now is that we make sure that we hold everyone firm on this. So there are some who say if Putin just demonstrates that he might want to step back, we should all start to unravel. These sanctions are there to make it very, very clear that Putin's war must fail and that Putin's behaviour is unacceptable, and that the financial pressures that we are applying both to him and to those who support him, who are oligarchs, regardless of where they happen to be living now, cannot sustain their lifestyles. We will not allow that in the UK.
But that doesn't really answer my question. My question is, what does it say about the judgment of the British government when they're giving golden visas to people who the Prime Minister now says has Ukrainian blood on their hands?
So historic visas have a position, and of course the key point is that in sanctioning we are making a very clear statement for those who are for those who have demonstrably not come in and been supporters and worked in the UK and been perfectly legitimate members of our UK society, bringing as you say wealth and indeed lots of experience in business development. Those are being sanctioned. They have been punished for their relationship and their support of Putin.
Bad judgment to let them in the first place.
Well, as we say, we are now sanctioning those who have very clearly taken a position with Putin. But there are many who have stood up against Putin and who are here and have the protection and the safety of the UK because they are standing against Putin, and we commend them for their bravery.
Yeah, talking about bad judgment, 20 fines issued as far as Partygate is concerned, 20 instances of the law being broken so far. There will be more, we're led to believe, by the Metropolitan Police. The Prime Minister is still refusing to say that the law was broken. The Deputy Prime Minister was sat where you are this time yesterday morning. He said that there were clear breaches of the law. Where are you on that?
So the Met Police, as you say, Kay, are continuing their review, and as the Prime Minister said, we want them to complete whatever it is, the path that they're going to do. And the Prime Minister has committed that he will ask Sue Gray to do not sure what we're going to call it, a wrap-up report looking at everything, and that he will come to Parliament to discuss it then. So I'm always been in the case, I'd rather let the professionals get on and complete the work they're doing, and then the Sue Gray report number 2, which will be able to put all the evidence that she gathered into the round, and indeed for the Prime Minister to be able to come and talk to the House at that point.
That being said, was the law broken?
So, as I say, the Prime Minister has been clear that he wants to be able to come back to the House and discuss this.
I'm not asking what the Prime Minister thinks.
But that's
what you think. What do you think?
So I want to make sure that we let the Met Police do that without interference from commentary.
They've already told 20 on 20 occasions they've issued fixed penalty notices. You get one of those if you break the law.
And so we will see when the full completed report is done, and Sue Gray will then be able to publish hers. We'll be able to discuss it in detail. But as the Met Police haven't, published any names or any lists, I think at the moment I want to let them continue their work.
But they've told us that on 20 instances the law was broken. Why is the Prime Minister not saying that?
Well, because the Prime Minister is very clear. He wants to wait for the whole process to be completed.
What about you? How do you feel about it? Do you think that they're wrong in issuing these fixed penalty notices?
I have no doubt that the police are issuing notices on the basis
the law was broken, then?
Of those evidence, and I want to make sure that we can come back to the House and look at the whole thing in the round once they have completed their review of the process, and that the Sue Gray report, which I know many colleagues felt was sort of frustrated by the Met Police involvement, can then look at it in the round, and Sue Gray's evidence can be presented to everyone.
So the Deputy Prime Minister, the Justice Secretary, a former lawyer, misspoke when he said there were clear breaches of the law?
No, he is the Justice Secretary, and he has set out a position. I think if you or I get a fine, we hopefully pay it and move on from there, and I hope and I assume that those who have been fined by the police will pay their fines, and that will be the punishment that they have
and we
accepted.
Get a fine. Why do we get a fine? We get a fine if we break the law.
So indeed, when regulations are set out...
20 instances of fines being issued means that 20 instances people have broken the law.
Well, that's right. They've broken the regulations that were set in the COVID Act, and the police deem that was what they did, and therefore they've been fined accordingly.
Why would the Prime Minister not say that?
Because, as I say, he wants to wait until the whole process of the police review has been done.
That, though, will it?
Well, that's the position he's taken, and I respect that.
But you agree that they've broken the law. OK. Let's talk about the Ockenden report. I mean, can't even begin to imagine. I think
stomach lurchingly awful.
And we saw some of the mums. I spoke to some of the mums yesterday. One mum whose child is brain damaged as a result of what happened. 201 babies died. What should happen to some of the people that were responsible? Should there be prosecutions? Should people be let go?
So I know that the Health Secretary said yesterday, I'm afraid I didn't hear his speech, but I was able to catch up on some of it, that he wants to make sure that those who were responsible for this, catastrophic series of failures over so many years are held to account.
What does that look like?
Knowing SAGE, it will be very firm, and they will be taking the time to look through and really understand the depth of the problems, where there is real culpability, and where how that is dealt with. And I will leave that to the health team to do that. But I want to see those who are not fit to deliver not delivering the right care to be held accountable. I mean, it's just appalling. One of the interesting things that I've caught briefly as I was able to look at the report last night was, of course, this, fashion is the wrong word, but this direction towards natural births away from caesareans at a point. And interestingly, as I read it, I realised that I was in a fantastic maternity hospital in Newcastle when I had my children, but actually that was culturally normal. And actually, for my eldest, it was a very, very difficult labour, which one has to question: was that the right choice? And I was not given the choice of a caesarean section at the time, which afterwards, for a number of reasons, might well have been the better choice. And I read that and thought, actually, has this been a culture that has pervaded to the point where there is very serious risk?
That was a similar situation with my child.
That really, really made my heart sink at the thought that my children are well and healthy, and I'm very blessed. But actually, to think that there are many for whom those medical choices left families either with, as you say, sick children or indeed loss of their child.
Before I let you go, I just want to ask about Jamie Wallis, brave young man, member of your party, who has made the comments that he's made about wanting to be transgender. The Prime Minister supporting him with a tweet. But I just wondered if you wanted to comment on this. I'm sure you will. Boris Johnson tweeting his support, but he had also said that the supper that he held for some members of the party a couple of nights ago, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen," or as Keir Starmer would put it, people who are assigned female or male at birth. That was insensitive.
Jokes made at dinners are made. I think all of us who know the Prime Minister know he has a very, very warm and affectionate personality, and I think he is genuinely, proud and affectionate, and wants to support Jamie in his decision to share with the world his choice to present himself as trans. And I think, he's a lovely young man, and we are hugely, hugely proud of him. I think, this continuing discussion is so important, but it's also important that actually at the end of the day we respect and love each other as how we want to live our lives. And I think that's always what the Prime Minister wants to try and achieve. And we are incredibly proud of Jamie taking on what will, by definition, as a public person, be a lot of commentary about his choice. And I think that's incredibly brave. And, we absolutely cheer him on and want to make sure that he can either be an advocate in this space, or indeed, if he chooses to not want to be an advocate other than just getting on with being a great MP, that's great too.
OK, we're out of time. It would be good to talk about that in more detail, and perhaps we'll chat to Jamie about it in the fullness of time. For now, thanks so much indeed. Thanks a lot.